going to talk about my one grandparent. I have a terrible memory, and fair or not, I blame my mom. My birthday is March 22nd, but I was supposed to be born on the 21st. The holdup being that I kept hitting my mom's pelvic bone over and over again with my head on the way to delivery. This must have done something to my own brain, right? I'm hesitant to actually do any research, but I'm quick to blame this trauma for my faulty memory. In oft-repeated pattern, someone asks me to do something, I listen to their ask, and believe in my heart I will execute it, and then the second my intention moves elsewhere, it is gone. I also have a terrible autobiographical memory. Friends will remind me about great times we had watching movies in horrible postgraduate apartments, or sing to me the lyrics we wrote about our middle school lunch monitors to the tune of MC Hammer's Addams Family Groove. And I remember these things, but at a far remove, like old foxed photographs in a book on a high shelf. I don't feel unmoored from moment to moment, but the present feels really present to me, and the past fades quickly away. This can be a great thing. For instance, all the frustrations I had in my last apartment with the landlord who played music of the night at full blast when he had a lady over felt like an idle dream as soon as I moved out and into my house. It can be a tough thing too. My parents recently divorced after 44 years of marriage, and our past as a family feels to me completely eclipsed by our current dynamic. So then, like most personality traits, it shifts between being a strength and a weakness, and what at best has helped me to be adaptive, focused, and forgiving, and at worst, plunges me into an adolescent haze of insecurities. If I needed to be reminded of my past, all I needed to do was call my grandmother. At some point during every call, she would inevitably steer the conversation towards her favorite stories. Grandma observing my sister and I on a drive to Cape Cod, acting out melodramas of unpaid rent and finger mustache villainy. The way I would wake her up on trips by kicking her in the back. And then when I would audibly wince over the phone at hearing this, assure me that it was cute and not painful. The two of us making up Olympic events in her apartment building's courtyard with a large red rubber ball, a sidewalk, and my grandmother as a living basketball hoop. Bus rides to Midtown, riding the monorail, and buying sports memorabilia. Once a call, she would lay out how, in response to her telling me she loved me, I would only say, I know, and then, me too, and then finally telling her I loved her too as I got older. These stories formed a way back to her golden age of grandmothering that had such meaning and value for her. For me, I only remembered these events in fragmentary flashes, but they were a springboard to collect more. The thick afternoon light through her apartment curtains, the pilled softness of the sheets that I napped on, the bananas and chocolate milk out of the Sesame Street mug. She was my mother's mother and was more or less my one grandparent. My dad's mother died when he was 15, and all I really know about her was she threw a plate at my dad once. His father died shortly before I was born, and what I know about him doesn't go much past him being a taciturn diabetic. My mom's father died when I was 8. My only memory he figures in is me playing with Tonka cars on the floor and him seeming vaguely annoyed while smoking. Grandma was my path back to the people and places that figured in the 5 generations my family's been in Rochester. From my great-great-uncle and namesake, and his son, who, according to family legend, split for Canada after getting someone pregnant and was never heard from again. When Cary Grant became popular, the family thought he looked so similar to this wayward son, they wrote Grant a letter to see if he was indeed a lost family member. My great-grandmother, who was chased down East Avenue by George Eastman for picking a tulip from his garden. the Sunday school lessons and bar mitzvah, Grandma was my connection to Judaism, with her memories of the disappeared Jewish neighborhoods of Northeast Rochester, her rituals around lighting Shabbos candles, and her idiosyncratic superstitions. I certainly did not want to be an Orthodox Jew, but I was totally into pulling up my ears when someone was talking about the dead and I sneezed. Has anyone ever heard of that? Okay, that's just, yes, you're Dottie? You are the first person, Dan, I've ever heard who also does that. Huh. Okay. While I look almost identical to my grandfather, I see so much of my grandmother in myself. She loved books and movies. In fact, my earliest memory is going to a movie with her. I don't remember the title, but I vividly remember a scene of Raggedy Ann and Andy floating down a sewer. She loved basketball, lived in the same apartment building as many of the Rochester Royals players, missed the Royals clinch the 1946 NBA championship because she was in labor with my mom. And my mom and I have also inherited her anxieties, established when her dad died suddenly when she was 10. My grandmother, my mother's mother, Anita Pauline Pat Stein, died herself 2 weeks ago. During the funeral, I stood looking at the grain of her pine box and tried to imagine her 85 pounds inside and figure out how to feel. During our last conversation, she stroked my beard, tousled my hair, and told me I needed a haircut. She said, "I can't really see you, but I want to keep looking at you," and just stared at me, probably like she did when I was a baby. I told her I loved her, and she told me the same. Without thinking about it, I said, "I know," as if all of my development from "I know" to "me too" to "I love you" had been for naught